Tupac is the greatest rapper of all time to me. I think it's very fascinating that 30 years after his death, we have a whole murder trial since no one was ever convicted of killing him. I personally have been watching Vlad interviews and Art of Dialogue interviews for years, and I've seen Keefe D's interviews of him talking about what happened with how Tupac allegedly was murdered. Outside of his own interviews, as far as I'm concerned, they're not going to be able to pull but so much information from witnesses or just any type of physical evidence at play. I thought that before the trial started, once I knew it was going to be a trial, and I still feel like that after the first week of the trial of the murder of Tupac Shakur. And the thing that's so interesting is that Keefe D is the only reason why he is connected to Tupac's murder. We all understand that the relationship between Baby Lane, aka Orlando Anderson, which is Keefe D's nephew. Orlando Anderson is the one that apparently was in a fight with Tupac, and that's who Tupac jumped or whatever. And they say the reason why Tupac was murdered was due to retaliation of Orlando Anderson being jumped by Tupac and his people at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas in September of 1996. With that being the case, I think it's very fascinating when we look at the media from the 90s and compare it to present day. For example, I don't feel like we'll see, let's use Nipsey Hussle for example, right? Nipsey Hussle unfortunately was murdered in LA in front of his store. Rest in peace to Nipsey Hussle. The man that murdered him is, I believe he just, ended up in prison as a result. But with that being the case, imagine, and he was extremely hated. I believe his name was Eric something. I forget. I could look it up. But I'll insert a picture of him here. Imagine if this man that had killed Nipsey Hussle was interviewed all over CNN and all over, you feel me? Just all over 60 Minutes and Fox News. Like, just imagine. People would be appalled, okay? This nigga, Baby Lane or Orlando Anderson, was interviewed by 60 Minutes. But he's the one that, now obviously they didn't convict him of anything, and he was, in the end, found out to be innocent, that he did not pull the trigger. After his death, that's when Keefe D allegedly, or the streets was talking, I'm not sure, I'll get to the bottom of it later, but that's when they were like, okay, no, Orlando Anderson pulled the trigger, and his uncle Keefe D got the gun for him to do that and set up the play for him to do that. Well, all of that information, you wouldn't expect to see him, you feel me, looked upon as this innocent person, even if he did not do anything, right? My whole thing is, right, 30 years ago, this happened before I was born, okay? This happened before I was born. I love Tupac, but I don't give a fuck if Keefe D went to prison. I don't want to see him go to prison. He old. Like, that shit happened 30 years ago, and he ain't even doing shit. As far as I'm concerned, like, he was like, yo, because all they saying is that he was like, yo, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. All right, huh? Here, nephew, huh? Feel me? That's all he did. That's not doing anything. Like, I hate the fucking system, yo. Like, the fact that you could even possibly be convicted just for word of mouth without any proof is crazy to me. That's crazy to me. And that's how a majority of crimes go in the courtroom. Like, it's just he say, she say shit. It's just, oh, I seen him do it. He did this, that, and the third. You feel me? That's not thorough to me. That's like crazy that's like the world we live in. To me personally, you might think it's like acceptable and cool and it should be, it is what it is. But like, no, at the end of the day, that's not no real shit, man. I wish a nigga would be like, oh, Sana did X, Y, and Z. And it looked like me on camera or some shit or whatever the fuck, and I ain't do nothing, or all I said was like, yeah, go ahead, bro. And so cause I said go ahead, bro, oh, that was premeditated, you gave him the go, you set that shit up, that's a RICO. Like, that's crazy. That is insane. Anyway, back to Keefe D. So what happened this week so far is that they just established the overall story for the public and the jury to hear. So they learned that it was an MGM fight with Mike Tyson and another nigga, and that's why niggas was at the casino and the hotel in Vegas in the first place. They also established that Orlando Anderson was the one being attacked. Now, this is just still off of word of mouth, because at the end of the day, the video footage of him being attacked, you cannot directly see Orlando Anderson in the video. But that's a conversation for another day, right? But at the end of the day, he was apparently attacked, and it resulted in Tupac's removal. They established the shooting. My whole thing is, right, so I watched the first 2 days. So I watched like 16 hours of this case so far. And I haven't watched every single day, just 16 hours, right? And everything else I just been reading about and watching clips here and there, reading articles about what has been happening in every single testimony. One thing that I watched live that I thought was interesting was that one of the girls, like the story of the two girls pulled up on the side of Tupac and Suge right before, you feel me, that happened. They were saying that nobody was screaming Tupac, Tupac, Tupac. Whereas Keefe D's story, he said bitches was screaming Tupac, Tupac, Tupac. And she's saying they ain't happened. There's a lot of shit that people are saying, just little small things, you feel me, that people are saying took place during that drive of Suge and Tupac on the strip before they got to the club. What was it, 662 or whatever? And before they got over there, just that whole scene, you feel me? It's a lot of shit that other people are saying that Keefe D ain't saying. I ain't gonna say a lot, but it's been a good handful of things outside of what I just said, for example, right? Also, the only reason why Keefe D would be convicted is because of what he said about, himself. Now, let me tell you what I think, okay? Two things. I'll tell you what I believe the end result would be, and I'll tell you what I believe is going on as well, okay? So, what I do believe would happen in the end is that they will sentence him to prison. They will find him guilty in some capacity, okay? Now, only reason why I believe that is just because that's just how shit go for us. You feel me? So, I don't feel like, well, a part of me, I just feel like, they want to see a nigga down, they want to lock a nigga up, so they just go lock a nigga up regardless of what is concluded, right? But then what I feel, I personally believe that Keefe D is innocent. Now, some of y'all might look at me like, girl, he said he did it. He did it. Bro, another big news story that happened in our society, in our time, and it's obviously a different scenario, but it's similar, has similar aspects. The Central Park 9 or 5, whatever that joint was called, when I think it happened in the 80s or the 90s initially, and all these young bulls from like the Bronx or somewhere in New York City had got locked up because they said, oh, they raped some like white lady or whatever, and it was not true. But part of the reason why they said it was true, because they got some of the young bulls to say that they did it. They said that they like intimidated them, and they was kids, and they was good kids, they ain't never had no issues with the law or nothing like that. So somehow they manipulated them into saying, yo, I did do this. I did rape young bull. I mean, the lady or whatever the fuck. I did rape her or whatever. Like, they got niggas to do that. So it's statistically proven that cops are able to get a lot of people to admit to crimes that they did not do. And someone could say, okay, but he wrote a book. Other people wrote a book. He participated in documentaries, all saying that he was affiliated with this, right? Mind you, Keefe D didn't start going into the public and talking about this until like 2017, 2016. The amount of detail, right? That certain details that he chose to remember, it's like, dang, why you remember that? That was like mad long ago. You feel me? And if you really a street nigga, you gonna have mad little shit similar to what happened with Pac happen after the fact. So that shit is like, yeah, this was Tupac, so yeah, you gonna remember it, because it's like, you feel me? It's a big deal. But at the same time, all them years later, you feel me? You're not really about to remember all of that. And so, mind you, part of the reason, outside of like this one documentary that Keefe D participated in, part of the reason why we were even seeing him on public platforms talk about this matter is because he released a book about the situation, about the murder of Tupac. Now, mind you, he's recently said, right before the trial happened, that he actually had a ghostwriter and he did not write this book. And he's emphasized, yo, if you actually read the book, you can tell I ain't write that shit. I believe him. I don't believe he wrote that shit. And he said he didn't even read the full book after it was written. And they said it's a man named Yusuf Jah that is the ghostwriter for this book. So I'm waiting for him to come up and testify and say, yo, Keefe D ain't write this shit. That's what I'm waiting to see. And it's also another author involved that was an ex-cop that took Tupac and Biggie's files and wrote a book about it. So I'm waiting for him to testify as well to see what the fuck he says. There was an FBI agent that had talked to Keefe D early on, prior to 2006 and 2008 and 2007, when in those 3 years, 2006 through 2008, that's when they have tape recordings of Keefe D talking to the law, saying that he did it, that he was participating in the murder of Tupac, right? But prior to all of that happening, in 1998, this is the main proof that, to me, in 1998, right, there was a FBI agent that was looking at Keefe D for like drug trafficking and shit. And he was questioning him about the Pac murder. And it's recorded. And the bull said it on the stand and all that shit. That Keefe D told him he didn't know nothing about the Pac murder. He wasn't involved in it. And he was saying, like, if he was going to do something to Pac regarding him jumping his nephew, then he would have did it in LA and not in Vegas, because Vegas got too many cops. That was the first thing that he has publicly said, was that no, he don't know nothing. And then about 10 years later, now all of a sudden, he has information. Mind you, it's 10 years after the fact. The streets be talking. You feel me? People could have easily said da 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 da. The thing is, if what I'm saying is correct, who fed him the information? Who set him up to do this? Because he's saying that he literally said niggas gave him a script. He was just following the script. And he was doing it for money. And he was doing it for bread, trying to feed his family and shit, because he ain't had shit else going on for him. I believe him. Do you believe him? If you don't believe him, let me know why in the comments. But I believe him. I believe everything that he's saying. Not like he on the side of truth more so than everybody else. He ain't do it. My whole thing is, right, with the public that thinks he did it all crazy, right? And I don't see, hold up, side note too. I don't see anything wrong with Keefe D's lawyer with his questioning. You know, y'all might disagree, whatever. I'm not a person that heavily watches like court shit. Like, of course, I've seen it like everybody else. We all grew up seeing Judge Judy and Judge Mathis and all that other type shit, right? But I'm not like a person that be watching that shit day to day and all that other time. I'm not one of them, right? So maybe y'all do have more insight on terms of his lawyer's behavior and questioning and why his questioning is wrong. I personally feel like his questioning is right, because his Keefe D's lawyer keeps questioning all the witnesses to get to the point of, at the end of the day, you don't have no proof that Keefe D did it. You might have heard this, knew that, you ain't fuck with him, you knew he ain't fuck with them, da 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 da, but you can't prove that he did it. You might have seen some niggas in the car, but you can't prove that it was Keefe D in the car. You feel me? No one can prove anything. And as far as we know right now, Keefe D ain't own the will. He ain't own the gun that he allegedly gave. Like, he ain't, you feel me? Like, there's a lot of shit that cannot be proven. The only thing that we have to go of so far into week 1 is literally that Keefe D said that he was involved to the fucking cops. He said it. And then at some point in time, I'm not sure why, I'll look into that later, but he was granted some type of immunity where he does not have to, you know, do any time in regards to that. However, that shit was canceled out once, like 10, 20 years later, he started doing Vlad interviews and the documentaries and shit, talking about his involvement, and then published a book under his name that he was involved. I want to know what y'all think about week 1 in this Tupac trial. It's very fascinating to me, to say the least. It was highly anticipated to me. I love Tupac. Tupac is that nigga. You feel me? Tupac is that guy. Tupac is the blueprint. Tupac is why I even had the audacity and the thought to even make this video or be me to a degree. You feel me? I love Tupac. So And as far as I'm concerned, ain't no such thing as justice. So if anybody comes in the comments talking about, oh, well, we need justice and he was involved and he knows something and he ain't do nothing about it, and then like, if you one of them, like, bro, ain't no justice is a myth. This is the United States, okay? This is the world with powers and peasants. We are peasants. Tupac was even still a peasant by the standards of the world. And when I say the standards of the world, the standards of the power of the world, is Tupac had hundreds and thousands of dollars. And he had a large net worth. And to this day, his net worth is worth way more in 2026 than it was in 1996. At the end of the day, this wasn't your blood brother. This wasn't your blood relative. We all have a parasocial connection with Tupac and every other famous entity that exists. And that's cool and that's fine. Ain't nothing wrong with it. That's normal. I don't see nothing wrong with parasocial relationships. Okay? And you know how parasocial relationships will look 40 years from now. That would be weird. That's a whole nother conversation, okay? But as of right now, that's what's going on in the Keefe D trial. A lot of people are trying to insinuate like Keefe D doesn't have a chance, or that Keefe D's lawyer is not doing him justice so far. I personally disagree. You feel me? I disagree with everything. I like the judge. She seemed cool. I didn't say she seemed necessarily cool, but you feel me? She just like, oh, I'm just here. Like, you feel me? She got her like little young energy to her. She not like an old, you feel me, judge that's like feel like he just drawn with his energy. Like, you know, she cool. So that's whatever. Anyway, and then we got the jury. So the jury is made up of predominantly white people, or non-black people, I should say. Mostly middle-aged people, people that aren't necessarily super fans of Tupac, but just people that weren't invested either way. And I believe it's like one black person that's involved in the jury. They have not released the names of the people involved in the jury publicly. I would like them to, because I'm very curious to see who they are, but obviously they have to stay protected during the trial while it's still active and live, because niggas could get death threats and shit, you feel me, if we knew who they were right then and there. But I say free Keefe D, you feel me, free Keefe D. I mean, the nigga is a rat, you feel me, but I don't feel like he should be going to jail and prison and shit behind this shit, especially not now. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, it's like, yeah, that shit just wild to me. Like, it's a fucked up world we live in. Like, I don't believe, like, a lot of niggas, like, you know, definitely do need to be locked away in some capacity, but what we currently have is like a prison system. Like, I don't fuck with that shit. I don't fuck with the jail shit. Most of the shit niggas get booked for, we shouldn't get booked for. Like, the shit is retarded, because the people that are doing the booking are the like biggest hypocrites in the world. And like, who want to respect that? You feel me? Like, why are we supposed to respect that when niggas is, you feel me? Like, that's a whole nother conversation. Anyway, if you like, you know, my sentiment, my thoughts, or whatever the fuck, let me know in the comments down below. If you want me to get into more detail about step-by-steps, what was going on in this case, you want to see little clips for yourself, you want me to help summarize this shit for you for next week, let me know. I'll make it happen. I got you. If you don't know, my name is Sana. So if you don't know, now you know. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more hip-hop commentary.